Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Sinner. A great episode. Quite a few things went down this episode. For one, let's point out the fact is that Harry is still sleeping in that motel. I mean, at the very least, he was staying with Jack and Heather before, but still, nevertheless, Jack in particular. Heather doesn't actually live there, does she? I don't think she does. I don't know. Side note, that's another thing too. I don't know if this is me being crazy or not. Have I been calling Heather Hannah the past couple episodes? I didn't really notice it until I saw her name pop up on Harry's phone, and I was like, some reason in the back of my head, I'm thinking like I've been calling her Hannah the entire time. I might have. I don't know why. I just get the inkling. If I didn't, I sound super crazy right now. But if I did, it's like, oh yeah, that also makes me sound super crazy. But nevertheless, I hope I haven't. But I kind of get the feeling there's a good chance. Kind of slip up on names like that all the time. I think, I won't go into it. It's not important. Nevertheless, a lot of crazy stuff in this episode. Obviously, everyone kind of assumes Mosswood is behind Julian's kidnapping, so the police show up there, but turns out, no, not the case. Harry does some investigating. He sees some, seeds are there. Sunflower seeds are there, and it turns out the person behind all this is, in fact, Marin, but she's been going by name, Laura, because she actually joined this group known as the Grey Daughters for the past 3 years. It's kind of interesting, just kind of a side note thing. It's kind of similar to Cora's situation, but kind of not, in a sense, the kind of this whole rehabilitation thing, but it's kind of a different set of circumstances. Because it seems like a few weeks ago, she left. It's 4 or 5 weeks ago, she left to try and get her son back, but Vera wouldn't. It's no, he's my son now, but he knows nothing about me. It's the reason why he knows nothing about you is because you couldn't even hold him or anything all those years ago. And it's because you don't know all that I've been through, which, that's to be fair, we don't. We know a little bit. Heather doesn't know everything about what went down, but we know a little bit, but we don't know what happened in between that time frame after Julian was born, after what I assumed is Lionel Jeffries being killed by Vera, all that, to where we are, to where, Marin tried to pick things up, and it's kind of sad, it was a situation of he was seeing her in the coat, but that was just her way of sneaking around. I guess that was from her, convent day. Well, not really convent days, because she never actually, took an oath. So she was there, trying to better herself, because she's basically had a hole in her heart all these years, and she tried to come back and get Julian, but Vera wouldn't. Because I think it's because for Vera herself, once she said it herself, when Julian was born, when she looked in his face, it all clicked, she awoke. Yes, Marin was kind of going through what she was going through, but more so than anything, Vera felt the connection. It's no, he's my son. I'm not going to give him up. I don't care if he was Marin's. Marin left him and gave up all responsibility of being his mom, but she was thankful for everything Vera had done, but for Marin, it was like I said, she wanted to know her son again, but she was never given an opportunity. We saw Bess and Adam, and I guess, how they got roped in all of this, because Bess felt sympathetic, because also, it's what I went through, it's we all know who the baby daddy was. It was Jeffries, and just the whole complication behind that is what I'm alluding to, which she says, you don't know what happened to me, and just everything about Mosswood, because even Vera tried to change it, be oh yeah, Mosswood has changed a lot, which we can kind of see that it isn't the same as when Lionel was kind of taking over things, but we see everything kind of piecing together, and sadly, the circumstances led to what they are now. It kind of makes you wonder, ultimately, when it's all said and done, it's a tragedy all in itself. I feel it's hard to say. I feel on so many levels, this is more messed up than season 1. And season 1 had a tragedy, circumstances all over the place. But I feel this is more messed up, because it's Adam and Bess weren't even terrible people. They were trying to do the right. They were trying to reunite a mom with their child they haven't seen in 13 years. They were trying to do a favor for someone they didn't really feel all that good being in Mosswood, so they wanted to leave too. And it's what did that good deed cause him? Cause him to get murdered, which sucks, and Julian, it eats away at him, because it's I did this terrible thing, and And, he feels bad because now he knows what they were doing. They took me because they were trying to take me to you, and I killed them for it. They weren't terrible people. Because in his mind, he was thinking like, oh, they're trying to take me away from my mom. They're trying to take you away from Mosswood and give you to your real mom. And on top of all that, like, now understanding everything, learning about what his mom went through, it's like, yeah, I wasn't, I kind of went all over the place, some bad places, got hooked on drugs. I got myself clean and sober for him, and it's just kind of sad. Like, she just wanted her son back. And I was about to say, it's kind of a terrible idea that you don't explain things to him because he's freaking out because he doesn't know who you are. He thought you were going to take him back to Moscow, but it's like, we're not going to Moscow. Where are we going? So, it's really sad, too, because the whole Heather situation, because it's like her reluctancy to even add Marin to the Amber Alert was because for her, it's like, I screwed things up for her back then. And now I'm doing it all over again. Because for her, it's like she didn't realize how much pain Marin was in. It's kind of why Heather blames herself. Because it's like, why she spent so much time over at our houses for parties, for holidays, any excuse not to be home, because just like with Julian, she wanted a family, and their family was kind of like that, surrogate family she never had. But Heather was so caught up in her own stuff, her own drama, her own business, that she blames herself for not being able to see the signs of like, I was her last hope for a family, and I pushed her away. I wasn't there to extend my hand. I didn't see what she wanted, what she needed. And now it's like things have kind of come down to this. Because if I hadn't pushed, like if I had actually realized, because Heather was like, oh, I want to go back to the way things were. She didn't want things to go back to the way they were before. She wanted things to go further because she probably wanted you two to be a thing because it meant like being just more than, she didn't want to just be friends going back to what you were before. She wanted to be family because you were the closest thing to a family she had, what she was seeking for all along. And it just makes her whole situation even sadder, Because the twist is, I was like, okay, so if Marin is alive, which I assume, like, I've been saying it such a long time, I'm like, that person in the hood has to be Marin. I've been saying that for such a long time. I'm glad it got my guess to be right. But at the same time, it's like, who's that person in the water? I was like, I was wondering if that was supposed to be Lionel Jeffries. Turns out it's not. It's actually someone completely unrelated to this case. It's just kind of like an interesting twist because, like, oh yeah, it was just someone who was from that that mental facility who probably killed themselves. So it's kind of unrelated, but it's like, it's kind of sad that, Heather's been kind of holding on to all that guilt this entire time. Because there was a part of her was thinking Marin had died. That was Marin's body they had found. Because she wasn't sure. No one knew at the time. But then she thought maybe I had a second chance to kind of make things right. Marin calls her up and asks for a head start. But Heather's like, I can't do that. Under these crazy circumstances, I can't. It wouldn't be fair. It's not right. Like, the fact of the matter is, it's a complicated situation. I know what happened to you. Come in, tell your side of the story. We can find a way around this. But for Marin, it's like, she probably felt like she was being let down again. But she does let Heather know, it's like, do not blame yourself, because honestly, it's not your fault. Like, everything playing out this way, because she apologized, and And there's even this interesting line from Vera in this other episode where she's kind of like, yeah, saving my son won't save you. And Vera's like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? I'm guessing in his little trance, he talked a lot more about what he went through than Vera is willing to admit. Or maybe, Vera was actually talking when she was saying that to Harry. Maybe she was saying that to herself because, Julian saved her. And, maybe that's what she was kind of talking about too, because it's like, you're trying to use Julian as a means of forgetting your past and saving yourself. But it's like, no, I tried that. And he's my world and my everything, but it hasn't saved me from my past. What I've done, my transgressions are still there. It hasn't eased that ache in my soul for all the terrible things I did. That might be an aspect of it she's leaning towards, or it could just be like she means it literally in the sense of like, oh, she knows about his, Harry's situation. Maybe she heard it from Julian. Maybe they did their own research, because it seemed like they do keep good tabs because they knew exactly where Vera was this entire time. Like, after a while, it's like, oh yeah, you spent time here. You spent time. Not Vera, Marin. They knew exactly where Marin had spent time. Like, it seems like Terry's the guy that does the investigating. He's the one that let her know about the whole Adam and Bess thing. And now he's the one that went to the Grey sisters. Cause that says a lot too. Cause like, well, did she admit that she was there? Maybe she did when her and Marin first talked after her return to Mosswood. Maybe then, I don't remember her saying that, but maybe that's what set her off to know that. It's crazy when you actually think about all of this. Like, obviously this takes place over a good couple years, but like it really, like the past few weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, is what set everything in motion. It's like, but to be fair, it's everything compounding upon each other, you know? So there was part of me wondering the way Heather was kind of looking at the end, whether she was going to be like, oh, trying to divert attention away, kind of like, no, we're fine. Like, because, Marin asked for more time to be able to get away, but Heather couldn't let that happen, so. But sadly, it ends even more tragically because at the end, what do they come upon? They come upon Marin's dead body. She was shot, and it's like, that fucking sucks. After all this time, after all these years, she's reunited with her son for such a short amount of time, and she doesn't get to spend the rest of her life with. Like, you were hoping, I was hoping and praying that in the end of it is all okay. It turns to a legal battle. It's like, okay, when it's all said and done, and maybe there was no real evil in this situation. So yes, there were complications, but maybe Vera and Marin can be there for him, growing up, going forward. But it's like, nope, his biological mom is gone, and he will never get the chance to make things, to build a relationship between them. Heather, in her mind, will probably never get the chance to make things right between her and Marin. And it's just kind of, it's sad that it ended that way. The question is, did Julian do it? Did that side of Julian kick in again, where he's thinking like, no, I'm being taken away again, because it seems like he doesn't react well to being lied to. Is ultimately what it kind of seems like. So, because it also seemed like Vera was, well, at the very least, Marin was waiting for somebody. She's like, okay, like, yeah, we're here. So it's like, is this connected to Lionel Jeffries? Is he actually, because I was thinking he was dead. Maybe he's not actually dead. Maybe Vera didn't actually kill him, just knocked him out, and maybe he was going to meet up with Marin, because it seemed like she was waiting for someone, but I don't know. Maybe that's why Julian shot her, because it's like, oh, you lied to me. You said that we're going to have this relationship, but it's not. You're lying to me again. And that's probably might be why he shot her. Let's not did not mince words either, because Vera knew exactly where he'd be too. So it might have been something else coming up where, maybe Vera showed up and like, you have Julian there with the gun and he doesn't know like who to, biological mom or the lady you've known as your mom the entire life, like whatever the circumstances is. It's hard to say whether it was Julian that actually fired her or was it someone else, because like I said, they know exactly where he is too. So like I said, overall, it's just like this tragic situation that turned into something it didn't have to be. It's interesting because like Harry's past, I guess to an extent does fold into the story, but it does seem like it is more a back burner, just like everything he was going through in season 1, his whole side plot, it kind of fit with like what Cor was going through, because he had his own way of kind of dealing with everything he went through, and now it's like he finds, I guess, a kindred spirit also in Julian about everything as well. So it's more like a just like I was bringing up with the whole Vera situation, her being like, he can't save you, saving my son won't be a means of saving you. So with the way things played out in this episode, I have no idea how this is all going to play out. Like, where do we go from here? Because the whole Julian situation is complicated all on its own, and there's extenuating circumstances. Will Mosswood be to blame for it because they kind of brought him up in that environment? Is it something Vera did to him? But at the same time, it does seem like even though Vera's done some bad stuff in the past, it seems like she tried to make up for it with Julian. So these are circumstances I'm sure even she didn't want it. Like she didn't want to kind of do this. I don't think she would do this. Like I said, I think it was just kind of an accident, circumstances. I don't know. Maybe it was on purpose. Like, we will have to wait to see what goes on in the next episode. But that is the thing. I am so fascinated to see how this case wraps up, because next week is, in fact, the season finale. I'm assuming so, and I'm pretty sure. First season was 8 episodes. This one probably 8 episodes too. So I'm curious to see how this all plays out. It definitely ain't going to have no like happy ending. Not like season 1 necessarily had a happy ending. It kind of had a happy-ish ending. It still was kind of a tragic situation all around. So I'm curious to see how they close up this season in this case. Like I said, it's just murky, sad circumstances. Once again, it's not even just what happened in the 4 or 5 weeks kind of set everything in motion. It's like if everyone had just told the truth from the very beginning, maybe we wouldn't be where we are. If everyone had just told the truth from the beginning, it makes you wonder, would everything have fallen out the way it did? It was just like lies upon lies upon lies, and half truths and stuff like that that compounded upon each other, which is like, you can't fault them for it. Like I said, it was just the circumstances. You never know how the dominoes are going to fall, especially when expecting to fall in this particular way. So like I said, it's just, once again, just can't help but use the word tragedy. It's just a messed up set of circumstances that led down this road. So like I said, I am very, very interested to see how they wrap this up in the season finale. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.